Information in a 13 News Now investigation into questionable signatures on petitions to get an independent candidate on the ballot in the 2nd Congressional District race. The details might surprise voters. We've uncovered the citizens deciding who will represent them in Congress might not have answers as to what happened before they cast their votes. 13 News Now investigative reporter Laura Geller joins us with the story.
Well, Janet, those answers would tell voters if anyone actually broke the law in this controversy. The special prosecutor appointed to investigate the potential violations tells me he does not expect to complete his investigation before Election Day. Roanoke Commonwealth's attorney Don Caldwell couldn't say much else about his investigation into how Sean Brown's name got on the ballot, but he did confirm the investigation has at least started.
Not knowing before Election Day is really frustrating to voters.
Caldwell tells me he's enlisted the help of Virginia State Police. We've learned that is standard protocol in these types of examinations, which often take months to complete.
This particular scandal has become the central issue locally in this election. And so I think a lot of voters would like to have some conclusion to this.
The special prosecutor must determine if any laws were broken, as forged signatures appeared on petitions to get Brown on the ballot. Among those possible, violations of election law and forgery. 13 News Now political analyst Quentin Kidd explains the cloud of this controversy hanging over Election Day means different things for different campaigns. For the Democrats,
it would be nice if Elaine Luria and her supporters could have conclusion if that conclusion is to say that her opponent did something wrong.
For the Republican incumbent, whose staffers collected some of the signatures in question,
if in fact Scott Taylor's done nothing wrong and his campaign volunteers and consultants have done nothing wrong, it would be good for them to have that out before the election.
Kidd believes this will be a recurring theme for the duration of this race.
The best thing the voters can do is just use their best judgment.
And Kidd also tells me this could affect voter turnout. It may cause some people to simply not vote in this midterm race because they aren't sure of exactly what happened and aren't sure who to believe. Laura Geller, 13 News Now.